Maverick News. The world is watching. In a universe full of ideas, we draw lightness from the dark to a place where opposites attract. Right meets left, positive touches negative, sparking an explosion of truth. Because politics makes strange bedfellows.
To me, anyway, the main thing that matters is experience, judgment, and temperament.
Yeah.
And I want, and we need, someone who's ready to lead immediately should the president be unable to fulfill his term. I mean,
yes.
Especially with a guy who's named Kennedy, there's always that possibility of assassination. Also, there's the possibility of illness or impeachment. Sure. I mean, Kennedy's going to have a lot of enemies in Congress if he makes it to the White House. You know that they're going to be looking for anything that they can to impeach this guy on, and they may give him the Trump treatment and try to impeach him several times in the course of his presidency. So it's important, vital to me, that whoever Bobby chooses, it has to be someone who is truly qualified and fit for the job. And I believe that Tulsi is the only one who checks all those boxes. You know, she's served in local government. She's served in the Congress. She's served in the military. She has great diplomatic skills and a network of contacts that she can tap. She's very well liked. I could easily see her as Secretary of State as well. She's a great diplomat. I think she'd be useful in anyone's administration and a great asset. But just for the record, for whatever my opinion's worth, which is probably nothing, that's why I don't get paid to give it away, Tulsi Gabbard is, and has always been, the obvious best choice for the campaign. And I don't know if we can get her, if we can talk her into it, or if Trump is making her a sweeter deal, a deal that she can't refuse. But my vote has always gone for Tulsi. She's my first choice. And my second choice, also because he had experience in the executive branch of government as both a mayor and the governor of Minnesota, was Jesse Ventura. And Billy, you were with me this week when I hosted a great debate on Twitter Spaces, X. We debated for 3 hours all of these various names on the vice presidential list. And if you guys missed it, you want to check it out, go to my Twitter. It's at Real Lori Spencer. It's pinned to the top of my Twitter, and you can take a listen to the replay. But, I advocated in that space very strongly for Jesse. I've known the guy. I know he's honest. He's experienced. He's trustworthy. He agrees with Bobby on most things, not everything. Hey, you can't have it all. Where would you put it? But Jesse did endorse Bobby. And I want to play for you a clip. This was, I guess, about a month or two ago in Tucson, Arizona, which is where Jesse resides now. He came out to Bobby's speech there in Tucson and gave a rousing endorsement. And all I could think of while I was watching this speech by Jesse was, please come on board, one way or the other. If not vice president, please play a role in our administration somehow. Take a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former governor of Minnesota and WWE Hall of Famer, Jesse "The Body" Ventura.
Hello, everybody. Wow. Please bear with me. I'll wait for the music to end. That's good. we go. Please excuse me because I left office in '03 and I have not worn a tie or suit since. So I'm out here now in Arizona and I didn't bring a tie or a suit with me because I heard in Arizona you don't need it. You wear blue jeans and golf shirts and t-shirts. And so I fit in pretty good now as a Minnesotan who's now transplanted to Arizona. But anyway, I'm here in support of Robert F. Kennedy's bid for President of the United States. And I support this because I have been a person of the third party my entire political career and my entire adult lifetime. I go way back. I voted for John Anderson back in 1980, for those of you that are old enough to remember that. So I have been a third party person my entire life. I support the third party movement. Ralph Nader had it best when he called it the two-party dictatorship, because that's what it is. And you're seeing right now, the very reason we need to elect somebody other than Democrats or Republicans. And that reason is this. You're seeing it right now with this border bill where they put their party before the country. Bear that in mind. Democrats and Republicans always put their party first, then it's their money bag donors that give them the money. And let's see, we the people, we could end up about fourth or fifth on the list. But rest assured, it's their party first, not the country. And you're seeing that right now. They could pass this bill, but they're not doing it. Why? Because of party politics and election coming this fall. So let everybody suffer while they put their parties first. Well, that's why we need to elect independents. I won the election in Minnesota. I took on the Democrats and Republicans. And I was talking with Bobby earlier, and I think I amazed him a little bit when I told him I only raised $300,000 to become the governor of Minnesota. I can tell you this. I made more money doing the job than what I spent to get it. There isn't an elected official in the last 100 years to a major office who can say that. I made more money doing the job than I did spent to get it. And that's what you're looking at today. You talk about wasteful spending. How about the wasteful spending on these political parties? And the money that just goes down, for lack of a better term, down the toilet with this fundraising and all that stuff. I don't need that. And Bobby doesn't need it either. Bobby will make it on ideas. That's what I ran on in Minnesota, ideas. And the people responded. The voter turnout rose and went sky high in Minnesota. Bobby can do the same thing nationally. He can, if all we need is for people to believe, and I'm your example. I beat the Democrats and Republicans at the same time. They can be beaten. They can be beaten. And how you beat them is with ideas. How you beat them is with people responding to those ideas. And how you beat them is by putting America first. The United States first, not yourself. This isn't about yourself, and this isn't about your political party. It's about our country. And right now, our country needs Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And all third-party candidates. I believe it was John Adams warned us. He said, when political parties take over the government, say goodbye to the government that you know. Well, he warned us, and we're on the brink right now, because these two dysfunctional parties that are running this country, they've been doing it now for, 50 years or more, and with the same results. And they don't have you in mind. They got theirselves in mind. So we need to elect people who truly understand what public service is about. And when you talk, I'll say this to you, and I'll finish with this. Imagine the world we would live in today if the two Kennedys would have lived. There would have been no Vietnam. There would have been no Cold War. We'd be friends with Cuba. This world would be, you wouldn't recognize it today. And so I always say Jack Kennedy was the greatest president of all in my lifetime. And the reason I say that is because they let him serve the least amount. He didn't even get one term. That's why he's the best, because they wouldn't let him go past not even one term. Well, maybe it's time to elect another Kennedy. And so on that note, please let me introduce to you a friend of mine, and I'll go back the many 20 years ago when they came to me and Robert's son Connor had a dream. And I had a chance to fulfill his dream. And his dream was a simple one. He wanted to go scuba diving or diving with an authentic Navy frogman. Well, I provided the authentic Navy frogman, and Connor and I had a great day diving down in Cabo San Lucas at Land's End. I'll remember it my whole life, and I sure hope Connor does too. But on that note, let me introduce to you who I hope is the next President of the United States, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
I think that comment that I just highlighted says it all for me. I would be overjoyed with either of those two picks right there. That's my hot list. That's my short list for whatever it's worth. I want to tell you guys, Rick already knows this story because we talked about it on the day that Bobby left the Democratic Party and declared his independence there in Philadelphia last October. But the first thing I said when Bobby concluded his speech was I picked up a copy of Jesse's book, Don't Start the Revolution Without Me, which was published in 2008. Great book. I recommend it. In that book, he tells the story of how Jesse was considering an independent run back in 2008. He was looking for a running mate. He wanted Kennedy. So they got together down in Cabo when he was living in Mexico and talked about it. Unfortunately, though, Bobby was not ready for a number of reasons. He wasn't ready to leave the Democratic Party, for one. And Jesse would never, ever run with a Democrat or a Republican. It's just nope. And Bobby also had small children at home, and he made a pledge to his family to stick around and be a dad and not run for any public office until his children were grown. So it just wasn't the right time. But in that book, and I'm not going to spoil the ending, the epilogue, folks, would blow your mind. It was like a glimpse of the future. It was fiction, but I thought it was very, very interesting. And it would be interesting if we could make it come true in 2024. Now, I know Rick thinks I'm nuts to even suggest Jesse Ventura, because Rick, he grew up in the 80s. He remembers Jesse's wrestling years and his years making movies in Hollywood. And he was like, Jesse Ventura? Come on, give me a break. Do you still think I'm crazy, Rick? Yep. Well, Bobby probably does too. But I still say, if you can't get Tulsi, if she's not available, Jesse's your man. I'm telling you. I think he's the best guy for the job. What do you think, Billy?
When I say when I was a disc jockey and people would ask me about whether I like a song or not, it wasn't whether I personally had a connection with it or not. It's how was the audience that we served going to react to it. And I kind of like, me personally, I like Jesse Ventura. I think he has a certain swag that I personally can identify with. With that being said, I don't feel he's good for the ticket. He has a certain bravado that is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. This, well, let me tell you how it is, Lori. I'm going to tell you how it is right now. You know, that whole...
That's right.
I just, you know, you have, Bobby is a very young 70. I wish I looked like him physically. I don't. And that's
give me 24 push-ups right now. Show me.
Yeah, I might be able to do that, but I wouldn't be jumping out of a helicopter and into choppy water. That's not something I would do. And here again, this kind of fits what you were saying about Tulsi. You have two very physically and mentally fit individuals. You know, Jesse Ventura kind of skews that ticket to be an older ticket. You know, that's my mom and dad's people, you know. And I just, the bravado scares me. And, you know, we talk a lot about audio because we do audio spaces and all these other kind of things. And I believe that the spoken word is something that doesn't get enough attention. That's one of the reasons why I'll pick on Aaron Rodgers again. He got, like I said, the side out of the mouth smirk, mumbling. Jimmy Kimmel, we look out. Jimmy Kimmel, that list comes out. See Jimmy Kimmel. Okay, I don't like it, and I don't like the bravado on the other side of the coin that that Jesse Ventura brings. Not because of any personal reason. I just don't know that that's going to resonate with a lot of people. With Tulsi Gabbard, you have someone who has a nice even cadence, not too many highs, not too many lows, and she gets her point across very smoothly. So I'm not on board with Jesse for no personal reason. I just mean practically he's going to polarize as many people as he's going to bring on.
He'll scare some people. I mean, that's his whole act. And I do want to point out, folks, that it's an act. Professional wrestling is an act. The persona of Jesse Ventura in that sense was an act, but the real Jesse is who we got to know when he was running for governor and when he won. I would like to remind everyone, some of our younger viewers probably don't remember, but in 1998, Jesse Ventura shocked the world. He did the thing that everyone said couldn't be done. All the political experts, the pundits said it was impossible to run in that race, especially against two very popular Republican and Democratic candidates. He beat a 25-year incumbent, Hubert Humphrey III. Remember Skip Humphrey? Hubert Humphrey's son. And in Minnesota politics, the Humphreys pretty much ran that state for a quarter of a century, longer than that. And Jesse Ventura took him on. And, he was polling at about 10% until there was a nationally televised debate on C-SPAN for that governor's race. And Jesse outperformed everyone. Everyone thought he was some crazy wrestler. He was brusque. He was loud. He wasn't ready. And he came in and showed them all that he was actually quite sane, quite reasonable, pretty soft-spoken, actually, when you sit down and you talk to him. He's not going to yell at you in a conversation. I've had that pleasure of talking to Jesse. He's so damn likable, and he's got a big, big heart. And if you don't believe me, ask Terry, the woman he's been married to for 40 years. There aren't too many people in politics who can make a marriage work that long, especially if they're a jerk. And one of the reasons, someone in chat brought it up. Jesse has been approached many times. He's been interested in the presidency before. And in the past, he gave two reasons why he ultimately declined to run before. One, of course, was ballot access, because it's so damn hard, as Bobby Kennedy is now finding out as an independent, to get ballot access in all 50 states. But the other reason in more recent years was because his beloved wife, Terry, was having epileptic seizures. She had kind of a late onset of epilepsy in her life. And he was her caregiver. She needed him at home. But he tried medical cannabis, and it worked. From the very first dose, she took some drops under the tongue. I think that was over a decade ago. And his wife has not had a single seizure since. Yeah. So it seems that problem is now sorted out, I hope. And, this week, Jesse's son, Tyrell, who I just love, was on a podcast, and they asked him, is it true that you're on his short list? Is he talking to you? And Tyrell, bless his heart, he sounded so sad. He said, our phone ain't ringing. So I hope that Bobby will at least give Jesse a call if he's not the pick, and it sounds like he's not, to say, hey, thank you for your interest. Love you anyway. I hope that you'll stay with me on the campaign trail and, maybe find a job for him if he's interested in the administration. I think that, he needs a strong voice like Jesse Ventura, who's well respected on both sides of the aisle. Those who, you either love Jesse or you hate him. Most people just don't understand him. But those who love him really, really, truly love him. Those who know him love him. I've actually never heard anyone who knows Jesse say a bad word about him. And I think that,
you know what? He'd be perfect for Trump.
Ooh, don't tell him.
Oh, no, that would be Trump. Perfect. Talk about entertainment. No. Are you kidding me? Trump could insult him. Jesse could body slam him. It would be great. He could bust up the podiums on the debate stage. Yes. Trump could be up there debating. Jesse could run up on stage and just start smashing things and body slam it. It would be the best ever. That would be the perfect ticket.
Yes, they could tag team.
Yes, that's exactly
right. You got me, Rick. You got me there. Well, back in 2016, all the experts and the advisors around Trump told him to pick Mike Pence, right? Because he's so milquetoast and unoffensive. And they said, you need a guy who's going to smooth out the ticket and, who offsets Trump's big mouth. And it seemed like a good idea at the time. And it seemed to work out pretty well until January 6th.
And if Jesse had been there on J6, can you imagine? He would have that would have been the equalizer. You would have seen bodies flying left and right. It would have been.
You know what? Jesse actually said something about that. He said he wished he was there on January 6th because when he saw that guy with the Confederate flag, he got triggered. He was like, you're not bringing a Confederate flag in my Congress. Let me at him. He was going to body slam that guy, I swear. Jesse would have gone to jail that day, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And, when it comes to Trump and Tulsi, another reason that ticket just doesn't make sense to me is Trump never forgets a slight or a perceived slight. Yeah. And he liked Tulsi until the first impeachment. Back in 2020, she voted present, remember? I guarantee you he hasn't forgotten. He wanted her to vote no, of course. And the Democrats, her party, were pressuring her to vote yes. She took a principled stand in the middle and wouldn't vote either way. And then the second impeachment, and a lot of people forget this because a hell of a lot's happened in the last 4 years, but at the second impeachment, because of January 6th. Remember when Trump was on his way out, they tried to impeach him again, and they did.
Yeah.
And all 222 Democrats voted yes. And a lot of people mistakenly think that Tulsi voted yes that time, but actually she didn't cast a vote because Tulsi's term of office ended on January 3rd.
Oh, okay.
So she had just left her congressional seat and actually didn't cast a vote on the second impeachment. Whew, dodged a bullet there. She didn't want to go through that whole process again. But I think that Trump would probably never forget how she voted the first time, and that loyalty is everything to Trump. If you're not loyal to him, out you go.
Yeah. Well, in this case, sometimes you have to look at the advantage of having her on the ticket, and it would give him, like I said, a little bump. I'm still skeptical on how far any good vice president can carry a president. I've used this analogy before. I think most of us are in tune. We're all of the age that we could probably name all the presidents since World War II. I'm sure we all three could. Vice presidents, that'd be a little tougher. And that's just how it is, because no matter how good you are at number two, you can always be instantly overruled by the opinion of number one.
That's right.
Yeah. So
that's right. And it is a nothing job. FDR's Vice President John Nance Garner famously said that the vice presidency isn't worth a bucket of warm spit. Actually, he used more colorful language than that. He said it's not worth a bucket of warm piss. Yeah. He's a Texan. He didn't mince words, but
sure.
And it's true. Now, in more recent years, the vice president has become more
Dick
powerful
Cheney.
in some administrations. Dick Cheney, anyone?
Yeah.
So, it all depends on the president and how much power and influence he's willing to let his vice president have. Arguably, the Bush administration was a co-presidency. Some people think Dick Cheney was actually running the country and Bush was just a front man. Many people said that about Ronald Reagan as well, with Bush's father, H.W. Bush, actually pulling the strings while Reagan took a nap for 8 years. But, I agree with you, Billy, that a vice president rarely makes or breaks a ticket. Yeah. Right? They can be an asset. They can be perhaps a liability. But I think that most people don't vote based on who the vice presidential running mate is. They vote for the top of the ticket. They're voting. And I've had many people tell me this week, I don't care who he picks. I'm voting for RFK.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.